Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am Rachel, the designer behind Evelyn and Peter, and today I have a crochet tank top for you guys. So this is what it looks like. It's actually probably one of my more easy patterns as far as garments go. It's super simple and very beginner friendly. I like to call it, I've been calling it the summer version of my harvest pullover. So if you're familiar with the harvest pullover, it's a couple years old, and it's a gray long sleeve sweater that was a fan favorite when I made it, and one of my more popular patterns that I have available in my shops. And I used the lemon peel stitch for that one and for this one as well. So most of you probably know that stitch, just alternating between single crochet and double crochet, but it gives this really pretty texture to it. I love it. It's one of my favorite stitches. But as far as how to make the top, it's super simple. You are only going to be making two panels, the front and the back, and both of those are identical. It is, I don't know if you guys follow along with current trends or anything, but the square neck tops I've been seeing all over the place in stores and at the mall and stuff like that. So I've been wanting to design one, and that's how this one is designed. So yeah, the front and the back panel are exactly the same. You're just going to make two identical panels, and then the straps are attached last. You'll do a couple rows of trim here at the top, and then the straps are also worked in lemon peel, and these are really easily adjustable. You can add more rows or remove some rows depending on how you want it to fit. And then you can also move the placement of the straps around if you want your neckline smaller, or if you want it further apart, you can adjust that as well. It's super simple to do, but I go over all of that in this video tutorial with you. I have sizes extra small through 5X in the written pattern, and you can find that on my blog, eandpcrochet.com, and I'll have that linked in the description. This is also available as a line brand kit. I'll link that as well. And then you can also find the PDF patterns, which are available in my Etsy shop and Ravelry shop. So I hope you guys like the pattern, and thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, or if you have any. So I'm using Line Brand's Kobu for my tank top in the color peach, and this is just a lightweight cotton bamboo blend yarn, and the exact yardage is in the written pattern. You're also going to need a needle to weave in your ends, a measuring tape, some scissors, a 4mm crochet hook, as well as 8 stitch markers. So for this tank top, you're just going to be making two identical panels. The front and back panel are exactly the same. And to start off, you're just going to create a slip knot and then insert your hook and pull tight to secure. And we're going to be starting in the ribbing section. So chain 2, and we're going to be doing some foundation single crochets. So insert your hook into that first chain that you made. I like to insert mine into the back bump, but you can put it wherever you are most comfortable. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and that is 1 foundation single crochet stitch. And you can see along the bottom where it creates a little V, that's where we're going to be inserting our hook for future stitches. So insert your hook into that V along the bottom, and then yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop, yarn over, pull through the final 2, and that is a second foundation single crochet. Again, if you rotate it, you can see the bottom of the stitches. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is our third foundation single crochet. So just continue doing this. The foundation single crochet is basically just combining the starting chain and the first row. So if you're not comfortable with doing this stitch and maybe you just can't get the hang of it, you can always start off with a regular starting chain. And for that, you would just chain 11 and then work your first single crochet into the second chain from the hook and each remaining chain across for a total of 10 single crochet. So after you're finished with your foundation stitches, you will have a total of 10 foundation single crochet stitches. Or if you did the other method with the starting chain, you will chain 11 and then end up with 10 single crochet stitches for row 1. So after you have your 10 stitches complete, you can go ahead and turn your work and chain 1, and then we're going to work 1 single crochet into the first stitch. So insert it under both the front and back loop, and then work a single crochet. And then in the next stitch, we're going to do things slightly different. Instead of working through both the front and back loop, we're just going to be working through the back loop only. So insert your hook under the loop that is furthest away from you, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and that is just a single crochet worked in the back loop only. You're going to do the same thing for the 3rd stitch and the 4th stitch and all the way across. Only work your single crochet stitches in the back loop only until we get to the last stitch of the row, where we will be doing a regular single crochet through both the front and back loop. So it's just the 8 stitches in between the first and last stitch that you're going to be doing a back loop only. So you can see I'm coming up on the last stitch, and I'm going to put my hook through both loops and then yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through both loops, and that completes row 2. And then just chain 1 and turn your work, and you're just going to be repeating this row for the entirety of your ribbing. So to start off row 3, you're just going to do the same thing, work a single crochet into that first stitch, and then work the next 8 stitches in the back loop only. So in the loop furthest away from you, work a single crochet. Do this for the 8 stitches that are in the center, and then in the final stitch you're just going to do a regular single crochet. So you're just going to be doing the row 2 repeat for as many rows that your size calls for. I'm making a size small, so I am doing 64 rows, but if you are making one of the other sizes, as always, I like to recommend that you're following along with the written pattern, so you need to double check that. Make sure you're doing the correct amount of rows, and again, this is in the ribbing section, and it'll list out every size, how many rows that you need. So just go ahead and double check your row count, and then just repeat row 2 for as many rows as that is. So chain 1, single crochet, 8 single crochet back loop only, and then your final 10th single crochet in the last stitch. So just repeat this for the length required, and I will meet you guys back here to show you how to do the main body of the panel. Okay, so once you're finished with your ribbing rows, it should look something like this. And now we're going to be moving on to the main body of the panel. And for row 1, we're going to be working it into the ends of the row of the ribbing. So go ahead and chain 1. And then in that final row of ribbing that you had just made is where you're going to work your first stitch. So insert your hook into the side of that row and work a single crochet stitch. So just yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. And then into the end of the next row, you're going to work a double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops, yarn over, pull through 2. And then the 3rd stitch will be made into that 3rd row. And it doesn't really matter too much where you are putting your hook exactly. If you need to mess around a little bit with it and maybe you're more comfortable putting your hook into a different spot than exactly where I'm putting it, if it's a little lower or through the stitches, it really doesn't matter. Wherever you think looks best for you and wherever it's easiest for you. As long as you have 1 stitch made per row, you want to make sure that you have 1 stitch for each ribbing row. And I'm just working single crochet and double crochet stitches across, so I've just been alternating a single crochet, double crochet, single crochet, double crochet, and you're just going to repeat that all the way along the length of the ribbing. So when you're complete with the row 1 of this main body of the panel, you should have the exact same amount of stitches as you do ribbing rows. So just keep alternating between a single crochet and a double crochet, making sure that you have 1 stitch per row. And then when you get to the end of the row, I would just do a quick stitch count and double check, make sure you have the correct amount. So I have 64 ribbing rows, so that means I'm going to be ending up with a total of 64 stitches at the end of row 1. So go ahead and just keep working a single crochet and then a double crochet all the way across, and I will meet you back here at the end of row 1. Okay, so that completes row 1, just alternating single crochet and double crochet, and your last stitch of this row should be a double crochet stitch. So after that, we're going to start row 2, just chain 1, and then go ahead and turn your work. And for row 2, it's going to be super easy from here on out. You're just going to be working single crochet and double crochet, repeating all the way across. So in that first double crochet stitch from the row below, work 1 single crochet stitch. And then in the following single crochet stitch from the row below, work a double crochet stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And you are just repeating that all the way across. So the next one will be a single crochet, and then the next one will be a double crochet. And a really easy way to make sure you are staying on track is every single crochet stitch will be worked into a double crochet stitch always, and then every double crochet stitch will always be worked into a single crochet stitch. So if you're noticing that you are putting a single crochet into a single crochet, then you've probably skipped one or done 2 in a row by accident. So just make sure that you are aware of that, and it's an easy way to just keep track of where you're at. So just keep going, alternating between a single crochet and a double crochet. You'll be ending your row with a double crochet stitch always for every single row of this pattern, and you'll be starting off every single row with a single crochet stitch. So every single row from here on out is just a row 2 repeat, and you're just going to follow along with the size that you're making and go ahead and make as many rows as your size calls for. And then I also wanted to point out that the ribbing will not be the width that is in the written pattern. Your ribbing is going to be smaller because of the type of stitch and how it scrunches together. And as you work your rows up, the panel will widen out, and that is 100% normal. It is supposed to do that. Your ribbing is not going to be as wide as the main portion of the panel. It's going to kind of widen out as you go, and it's tapered down at the bottom. So just go ahead and keep going and repeat row 2, and I will meet you back here after you have all the rows for your size. Okay, and that completes the panel. I have 36 rows for the size small. So once you finish that, you're going to need to make a second one. So go back and rewatch the entire thing that you just created if you need to, and just make an identical panel. You'll have 2 that are exactly the same. So you need to do that before we move on. And I've already seamed one side, but don't worry, I'll show you the other side as well, how you do that. I just wanted to point out that when you tie off on the first panel and the second panel, you want to leave a long tail for joining the sides. So once you have both panels made, you're going to lay them together, right sides facing, and the right sides for this pattern is row 1. So when you're looking at row 1, you will be looking at the right side, and you want to place them together. So that will be the outside of your top, and then we're going to seam down the sides. So I'll show you how to do that with the tail of yarn that you should have left on both panels, an extra long tail so you can join them together. I also wanted to point out that it really doesn't matter which side you consider the right side. If you wanted to use row 2 as the right side, that's fine as well. It's just basically personal preference. But once you have that figured out, we're going to join them together. And so to do that, we're just going to use our hook and the tail of yarn, and we're going to slip stitch down the sides. So make sure your panels are lined up evenly, and then you're going to go ahead and insert your hook into the side of the panels where we are working, and just yarn over and pull through both panels and pull through the loop on your hook. So we're just slip stitching to join. So again, insert your hook through the first panel and the second panel, And it's just wherever your hook easily fits or where you're most comfortable with it. Yarn over, pull through both of your panels, and pull through the loop on your hook. And that is just slip stitching to join. And because we aren't working into a actual stitch and you're just working into the side rows, it can be a little wonky sometimes, but it's really not too important where you're putting your hook, as long as you make sure that your rows are lined up. So you'll just want to make sure that you're not accidentally like skipping over a couple rows on one panel. And to make it easier, you could use stitch markers if you wanted to and place them every few inches along the side of your panel. But I just like to stop every few stitches and check and just make sure they're all lined up. So you're going to go ahead and just slip stitch all the way down the panel and all the way through the bottom of the ribbing. And once you get to the bottom of the ribbing, you can just go ahead and tie off. So just yarn over, pull through the loop on your hook, and then go ahead and cut your yarn. And then you just need to repeat the same exact thing on the opposite side. I've already done my other side seaming before recording this, but just go ahead and go to the other side of your work, and you can use that tail of yarn and repeat the exact same thing, working down the side and down the ribbing before tying off. Okay, and after you've seamed your top together, you can go ahead and turn it right side out. So now our seams are hidden on the inside of our top. And now we're just going to add a couple rows of trim along the top of our tank top. So just go ahead and grab your yarn, create a slip knot, and then we're going to be joining our yarn to the stitch directly to the left of one of the side seams. So you can just pick which side you want, the front or the back of your shirt. It doesn't matter since this is identical. So as long as your shirt is right side out, go ahead and insert your hook to the stitch directly to the left of the seam. So it will just be one of the edge stitches of the panel. And then slip stitch to join, and then chain one, and in that same stitch work a single crochet, and in every single stitch around work a single crochet. So that's all I'm doing right here. I've joined it to the first stitch directly to the left of the side seam, and then I'm just going to work one single crochet stitch into every single stitch all the way around. So when you're done with this round, your stitch count should be the same as your front and back panel stitch counts added together. So I have 64 stitches on both panels for the size small, so I will have a total of 128 single crochet. So just make sure that you have that correct before moving on. But go ahead and work your stitches all the way around. And once you get back to the beginning, we're just going to be slip stitching to join to the first single crochet made. So we've worked one single crochet in each stitch, and now in that very first single crochet that we made, we're going to insert our hook and then yarn over, pull through that stitch and pull through the loop on our hook, slip stitching to join, and then chain one. And in that first stitch, work a front post single crochet. So you're going in between the stitches and working a single crochet instead of going through the top of the stitch. And then in the next stitch, work a back post single crochet. So again, front post, insert your hook behind it and pull it to the front, and then work a single crochet. And then you're going to be doing a back post single crochet. So come from the back to the front and bringing that stitch to the back and work a back post single crochet. And you're just going to alternate this all the way around. So one front post single crochet, one back post single crochet, and work this all the way around for this second round, and then just slip stitch to join to the first single crochet made when you get back to the beginning. Okay, so I'm back around to the beginning, and now I'm just going to slip stitch to join. So in that first single crochet that we made, insert your hook and then just yarn over, pull through that stitch and through the loop on your hook. And then you can go ahead and tie off your work. And that completes round two, and that also finishes the trim of the top of the tank top. Next, we're going to be doing the straps. So you're going to need some stitch markers here, and I'll show you how to add the straps to your shirt. Okay, so now we're going to add the straps, and you might find it easier to use stitch markers to keep your place, but you want to lay your shirt out in front of you with the right side out, and you also want the seam with the joins from the trim on the right hand side. And then you're going to be counting some stitches in and placing your stitch marker. So for the size small, I counted in 14 stitches, and in that 14th stitch, I placed my first stitch marker, and then I counted over 5 more stitches and placed my second stitch marker. So a total of 6 stitches right there, and that is where my first strap is going to go. And it just depends on your size. Some of the larger sizes have a total count of 8 stitches for these straps. So just make sure you're checking that, and it has the specific stitch counts for all sizes because each size is slightly different. But if you want to skip over all of that, you can literally place your straps wherever you want to. You can just eyeball it or put them closer together, further apart. It's really customizable, so I wouldn't worry too much about it, but I do have all the exact stitch counts if you want it placed exactly how mine are. So you're going to take your yarn and join it to that stitch where we placed our first stitch marker and slip stitch to join, and then chain 1 and work a single crochet stitch into that very same stitch. And then in the next stitch, work a double crochet. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, and then yarn over, pull through 2, and then we're going to work a single crochet. So we're just doing the same lemon peel pattern repeat across for the strap, and it's only a total of 6 stitches. So single crochet, double crochet, single, double. And when you get to this last stitch marker here, that's where you're putting your last stitch, so a double crochet. And you can go ahead and remove them if you want to, just to get them out of the way. So that is row 1 for the strap, and it's just a total of 6 stitches. And then chain 1 and turn your work. And from here on out, we're just repeating the same thing. So single crochet into that first stitch and double crochet into the next, and just repeat that 2 more times all the way across that strap. So we're just doing this same stitch repeat here as we did in the main portion of our tank top. And you're just going to repeat this for as many rows as your size calls for. For the size small, I did a total of 38 rows for my strap, but this is super easy to customize. If you need it longer or shorter, you can just go ahead and add a couple more rows or do less rows. So I recommend working the strap with the amount of rows that your size calls for, and then you can try it on and see if it fits over your shoulder okay, and then go from there before you join it the other side. So go ahead and repeat row 2, and I'll meet you guys back here after my strap length is finished, and I'll show you guys how to join. Okay, so now I've completed all the rows on my strap, and we want to slip stitch to join it on the opposite panel. So on that side seam where you counted 14 stitches over previously, you're going to count over the same amount of stitches for your size and place the stitch marker again on the other panel, so that it is lined up evenly. And then you're going to take the last row of your strap and attach it to those 6 stitches on the back panel. So you want to fold it over, and we're going to want our seam on the inside of the shirt to kind of hide it a little bit. So you can see how I folded my strap so that when I'm joining, I am slip stitching on the inside of my shirt. So we are going to put our first slip stitch through the same stitch that our stitch marker is in, as well as the first stitch on our strap. So insert your hook through the stitch with the stitch marker as well as the first stitch on your strap, and then just yarn over and pull through both, slip stitching to join. Do the same thing with the second. Same thing with the third. Make sure you're getting it through both of the panels and then just yarning over and pulling through. And you're just going to do this with all 6 stitches of your strap. So here's our 5th. If I can get it through any day now. And then with our last one, make sure you don't skip that last stitch and then just yarn over and pull through. And then you can just tie off, and that completes our first strap. And in the written pattern, I write out exactly where to place all of your stitch markers at the same time. I didn't do it in the video tutorial, but if you're following with the written pattern, you might have all 8 stitch markers placed at this point, and it just makes it easier counting wise just to do it all at the same time. But if you haven't yet, we're going to leave our neckline unworked and then place the stitch markers for our second strap. So I will leave 26 stitches unworked for the size small here at the neckline. So just right where you left off after your first strap, go ahead and count over as many stitches as it calls for your size in the pattern. So for the size small, I have 26 stitches left unworked here at the neckline, and then I placed a stitch marker and then counted over 5 more and placed another stitch marker, and that is where we will do the second strap. It should be even with the right strap, and you're going to be doing the exact same thing. So just slip stitch to join at that first orange stitch marker and then repeat all of the same rows that you did on your first strap. So again, just make a slip knot and then you can insert your hook into that stitch that has the orange stitch marker. And then just work your row 1, same as you did on the first strap. Slip stitch to join, chain 1, single crochet, double crochet, single double, chain 1, turn, and then just repeat that row 2 for the same amount of rows that you did for your first strap that you made. And once you have all the rows complete for the strap, you're going to slip stitch it to join exactly as you did the first time. So if you're making the size small and you have 26 stitches unworked on the front of your tank top, you want to make sure that you have 26 stitches unworked in between your straps on the back as well. So if you haven't already placed your stitch marker, just make sure you count your stitches, and then you can line up the 6 stitches of your strap and then just slip stitch to join those 6 stitches across. And that completes your tank top. This is what it should look like. All you have left to do now is weave in your ends. So you can just go ahead and grab a needle and thread any of the tails in of your yarn through that needle, and then you're just going to want to weave it in and out of your top a couple times. Just go ahead and thread it through. And then when you're weaving the ends in, just make sure you do it on the inside of your top just to minimize any tails poking through or being able to see it on the outside. So just weave it through some stitches. I like to do it at least 2 or 3 times, but however you do it is fine. And then just trim off the excess yarn with your scissors, and just do this for all of the ends that you have remaining. And that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this pattern. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you next time.